What's up, everybody? My name is Amy, and this is the Ruby Pearl Glamper True Crime Podcast. It's your way that you're sitting on top of the world. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Ruby Pearl Glamper True Crime Podcast. My name is Amy. Welcome to my show. I hope everyone is having a wonderful Monday evening. Unfortunately, it's still not warm enough for me at night. I can't deal with this cold. But anyway, hope everyone has had a wonderful day. Going to be talking a little more about the Idaho 4 tonight. Madison Mogen, Kaylee Gonclaves, Ethan Chapin, and Xana Kernodle, the 4 University of Idaho students who were murdered in their off-campus house in the early morning hours of November the 13th, 2022. Bryan Christopher Kohberger of Pennsylvania, who was a grad student getting his PhD in criminology at Washington State University, has been arrested for these murders. He's charged with 4 counts of first-degree murder as well as felony burglary with the intent of going in the home to take someone's life. And, wow, so much has come out about Bryan. A lot of people have come out and spoke about him, people that knew him, people that went to high school with him, people that went to college with him, people that were in criminology with him. A lot of people have come out and had a lot to say. And, one of the things the biggest thing that everyone has said about Bryan is that he was awkward and that he had a hard time fitting in. He was bullied by a lot of girls in high school. He went on a crash diet and lost over 100 pounds. And when he returned to school in high school, a lot of the kids didn't even recognize him. And he then kind of became a bully himself. He battled drug addiction. He was apparently on heroin. Um, and, he was, according to some of his friends, they thought he was on the, right track to bettering his life last time they saw him. But, some of them haven't seen him in a few years. But, Bryan was just that awkward kind of guy. And he was a little too upfront with the ladies. The management of a pub that he used to hang out in Pennsylvania, they got on to him because he was asking the female staff and some of the patrons inappropriate questions, things like, where do you live? Where do you work? Who you here with? What's your schedule? Which is not really anything out of the ordinary to ask someone when you're kind of, trying to make conversation and get to know somebody. But he was extremely, what's the word? He was like pushy about it. And he just came across in an extremely creepy way to girls. Now, the other day, when he was extradited back to Idaho to face these charges, he was presented with the probable cause affidavit that led to his arrest. And in my last live, I discussed a lot of that, but I wanted to discuss a few more things about that, as well as some of the bizarre behavior that Bryan has been reported as seeing that he was depicting. One of the things is that Bryan returned to the scene of the crime. Now, Bryan's phone pinged. He drove back and forth to the 1122 King Road residence several nights on November the 12th. In the early morning hours of, November the 12th, November the 13th, he, made several passes throughout the night by the 112 King Road house. And his phone was pinged in the area. He was seen on surveillance cameras and whatnot. And but the last time that night that he returned to the King Road house, which is when he committed these awful murders, is he turned his phone off. And then after he left the scene, he turned the phone back on. Well, he also returned back to the scene a few hours later that morning. He was, and matter of fact, I think he returned more than once that day. But he, for some silly reason, turned his phone back on when he came back that morning to the King Road house and was driving by, and therefore it was picked up. His hey Charlie, how are you? Oh no, you're fine. I'm just kind of now really getting started. But he returned that morning, and his phone was pinged in the area and everything. And some people are speculating that he may have returned to the scene to maybe he realized he left the knife sheath and maybe he was going to try to come back and retrieve it. He's the only person that knows the answer to that question. But honestly, I believe that he was coming back to check out and see if the cops were there yet, and what was going on, creeping sort of, creeping back by to see, the fruits of his labor, so to speak. And the first time he came by, which was around 9 o'clock that morning, there were no cops there yet. As we know, the cops were not called till sometime around noon or after. I don't remember the exact time. I'd have to relook that up, but he I believe he, came back to see if the cops were there yet. And as we know now, one of the surviving roommates did see him. They saw his, they saw a black figure dressed in all black with a black mask on. And so, I'm pretty sure that he was, coming back by to see what was going on. No, Charlie, actually, they've got him around 13 or at least 13 times between August. Hey, OOTU, how are ya? At least 13 different times between August and November the 13th as being in that area. That's how many times they were able to pick his phone up and whatnot, get in the area. But that particular night, he made several passes back and forth by there, and at different times. And the time the police, okay, it was around 11 or 12 when the police were called. What is wrong with this silly thing? And then, later on, when the police do get called and there is actually news media and whatnot, there is a video from a news broadcast. I'm not for sure whose channel it was. It was probably a local station that caught it, because the local stations would have got there, like before anyone from CNN or News Nation, Bryan and Fox News, and those people. The local media, I'm sure, got there a lot sooner. So it's probably from a local newscaster, but it is seen on that local newscaster's video. You can see a white Hyundai Elantra driving on that back road back there in behind the house. You can see it plain as day. So I'm gonna say he at least returned twice that day after the murders, and returned to see what was going on and whatnot. So and then apparently while he was under surveillance in Pennsylvania, he was witnessed by the police that were surveilling him. He was witnessed wearing surgical gloves, cleaning his car out from top to bottom. And any of you that saw the body cam footage where he was pulled over in Indiana, I believe he was pulled over like twice in Indiana for riding somebody's ass. And let me tell you, if he'd been riding my ass, he'd have been eating my bumper. That's one of my biggest pet peeves. I cannot stand for somebody to ride my ass. It just bugs the crap out of me. And he, if you notice, the car was filthy. But hey, it's, first of all, it's hard to keep a white car clean, period. But especially when you've got icy, slushy snow and, wet mud, and it's just impossible to keep a white car clean. Believe me, I own a white car, so I know how hard they are to keep clean. So he was witnessed after he got back to Pennsylvania, cleaning his car out, and wearing surgical gloves. He was also witnessed by police carrying his family's trash out at 4 a.m. in the morning. What is it with this guy at 4 a.m. in the morning, or 4 a.m. in the morning? Does he have insomnia? I mean, I'm not knocking the guy for black cars too. Yeah, they're harder than hell. I had a black car. I had a black Mustang, and it was hard as hell to keep clean. But it's like, when does this guy sleep? Because that's during the times he is known to have creeped over to the 1122 King Road house between August and November. It was in the early morning hours and stuff. So how this guy was getting through college and getting a PhD, he was also a teacher's assistant, and doing all that and not ever sleeping at night. I mean, even his neighbors would complain that he would be up there in his apartment at, 3, 4 in the morning, vacuuming and all kinds of weird shit. So when this guy slept, I have no idea. Like I said, he must have been suffering from insomnia or was on meth or something, because, yeah, them eyes, it's just crazy. But he was witnessed in Pennsylvania carrying out his family's trash at lots of coffee, at 4 a.m. in the morning, wearing surgical gloves and taking the trash and putting it into the neighbor's trash can rather than his own family's trash can. Now, why are you're taking out the trash at 4 a.m. in the morning? It's Christmas break. You have no job. You have nowhere to go. It's 4 a.m. in the morning. You're taking out the trash. You're wearing surgical gloves. Okay, maybe you're like Howie Mandel. You're a germaphobe. Okay. Fairly logical. Why are you putting the trash in your neighbor's trash can, though? So you put all this together, and what does it spell? I'm trying to cover something up. That's what it spells. Yeah, what did his mom and dad, did they not wonder what he was doing up all hours of the night? It's just, it's different when you work nights. I worked nights for years, but, this guy was maintaining a daytime life and then was up all hours of the night. He had to have been on something. And probably the way, yeah. I mean, I still, of course, I do have insomnia. I have to actually take sleeping medication to go to sleep at night. And my youngest daughter has had her days and nights mixed up from the time she was born. And I really think that it had something to do with all them years that I worked nights and up to, when I got pregnant and everything with her, that it might be why she has ADHD. That's true, because we know he suffered from some kind of obsessive compulsive disorder. So, no telling what other type of issues like that he may have suffered. He may have been taking Adderall or Ritalin or something like that. That medicine for ADHD and whatnot, while it may slow a child down, it speeds an adult up. It works the exact opposite in adults. And that's why a lot of people will go fake ADHD, is to get Adderall and stuff like that. And then yeah, that's true. But I just can't understand how he was in a PhD level of college, a teaching assistant, maintaining good grades, plotting a murder, and all that. It's just crazy to me. But yeah, wearing surgical gloves, taking the trash out. So, this guy clearly, to some extent, knew what he was doing. But unfortunately for him, they, just in that affidavit alone, they've got pre-planning, they've got the pre-planning the murders, committing the murders, and covering up after the fact, just in that affidavit alone. And that's only a 19-page probable cause affidavit. And there's enough in there to get him for premeditation, committing it, and covering up afterwards. And just like you said, OOTU, more will come to light. And, there's still yet to be loads of evidence that the police may already have and may have had for quite some time. Once they get through going, yeah, there could be some more charges to come as well, definitely. Because we really don't know if he stole anything or not. He might have stolen something of theirs. So, they could get him on that. I'd be charging him with every single thing I could get him on. It makes me think it's his only sentences. Yeah, that. I don't know. There could be a number of reasons why he said that. I mean, the police believe he acted alone. But I'm just wondering if that is just a deflection, just some kind of deflection, like he's toying with the police, making them think he may have had an accomplice or some, whatever. You never can tell, because I do believe that this guy, as has been playing mind games for a while. There has been some stuff that's come out that it's only speculated, but there is an identity that has now been deleted from Facebook, and an identity from Reddit that I believe has been deleted as well now, that is believed might have possibly been Bryan himself, communicating online and talking with everyone, about this case. Being a studying law, I guess he should have looked into the mental breakdown theory in Idaho. Yeah. But, I mean, I'm sure thinks that he planned the perfect murder, and, that he is, because of his criminology and study and and everything, that he was, probably gonna get away with it. They all do, think they're gonna get away with it, and but it's just damn near impossible these days, especially when you got Big Brother in the sky. I've said it many times, you can't flick a booger without it getting caught on camera now. So, it's just like Jodi Arias. She thought she was planning the perfect crime. Lord, she dyed her hair. She put gas cans in her trunk. She turned her phone off. She did, all this different stuff, but still, she thought she had planned the perfect murder, but there's always something to be left behind. It is the prosecutor now that must prove he is not innocent. Absolutely. And I cannot wait to see what comes out of everything that they have. Remember, innocent until proven guilty. That is true. That is true. And I am a firm, believer, and I am a staunch believer in that everyone deserves a fair trial, and I don't there's a lot of things that goes on in the justice system that I don't approve of. Like there's some evidence that doesn't, get into court. There's some stuff that, does and shouldn't be. There's just a lot of stuff that goes, you go through all these pretrial motions, and there's things that, they'll say, well, this is more prejudicial than probative. But if you don't get the whole picture of a case, then how can you truly decide whether somebody is guilty or innocent? Because I've seen it happen. I have witnessed how the prosecution can manipulate evidence and present evidence in a way that, especially circumstantial evidence, that can make a person look guilty. And, and then, like, the defense is not, allowed this or allowed that, or this is not allowed to be brought in because, like I said, it's more prejudicial than probative, and you've seen I've seen 2 people go to death row that there is just too much evidence that they could possibly be innocent. In my opinion, that these people should have never been sent to death row. You know, it's just like I said, I've witnessed some pretty bad corruption and how things have been done to railroad people for crimes or get somebody on a crime. So, and you know, especially in a death penalty case, there cannot be a shred of doubt in my mind whatsoever. If I was on a jury, there could not be a shred of doubt in my mind that that person isn't guilty. And, you know, that's what these jurors are going to be faced with. So, now, one thing that I wanted to mention, because I was thinking about this today, is, you know, the laws are all different and the way things work are all different in different states. And I am not a lawyer. I'm not a prosecutor. I'm not a defense attorney, and all that. But, you know, he's facing 4 counts of first-degree murder and felony burglary. And the murder charges alone warrant up to the death penalty or life in prison. We heard the judge tell him that when he went to face this probable cause affidavit. I mean, he hasn't even pled yet. He's not even had a plea and arraignment yet. So yeah, it is. It's going to be tough, and that's why they have. That's one of the biggest reasons why they've put a gag order out, is because they want to be able to try him there in Moscow, you know, in Idaho. It's their case, and it's like it's almost, it's not just justice for these victims, it's justice for that whole town. It's justice for that for the University of Idaho. You know, in my opinion. So I completely understand, you know, and oh yeah, yeah, if not longer, to you, because y'all heard me say a million times, half the cases that I'm covering, all these people are sitting in jail and waiting to go to trial, and there's been people that have been sitting in jail now for 2-3 years. And I don't know how far backed up Idaho case logs are, or their courts or whatever, but and if they do decide to seek the death penalty, that'll warrant even more time. So Lord, hell, it took 8 years to get Jodi Arias into trial, with all the back and forth. And so yeah, it's going to be a while. So I mean, we might as well sit back and get comfortable, because no telling how long this may drag out, and how many pre-trial motions and crap that they'll go through. And then, you know, he could go through some kind of situations with needing this kind of time for this and time for that, and I mean it just drags. Look how long the Daybell and Vallows case has been dragging out. I mean, hi Abby, how are you? My thought is this, that town's livelihood is, yeah, it is. And yeah, that's why I'm glad that the arrest at least hasn't drug out, no longer than it did. Thank God. I mean, I've said this several times. There is absolutely no way as a mother I would allow my child to go back to school after something like that happened until the killer was caught. And then I would still be a basket case. You know. But one of the, yes, it is. And the biggest question is why? Why this house? Why these kids? Why, period, no matter who it was? There is just absolutely no excuse for this at all. I mean, we were talking about it earlier on Molly Golightly's live. We've all been bullied. We were all bullied in school. It's to some degree, and bullied for multitudes of different reasons. But that don't give us permission to, go out and hurt people and do horrible things like this to people. I've had my heart broke by guys many, many times, and I've not hurt. Well, let me take that back. I had. Ooh, let's not even get into that. Let's not even get into talking about that 2-year relationship from hell. But yeah, we did some pretty horrible stuff to each other. But we're both still alive. And but there's just no, that's one thing about, I never understood about Jody was like, okay, Travis doesn't want you. I mean, and you've done all this stuff for him. Move on. It's like this whole, if I can't have you, nobody's going to have you crap is for the birds. You know. But another hot topic, that's going on is about Dylan Mortensen. My personal opinion is that he perpetuated this crime while he was in Pennsylvania. Seems like stalking started within a day. It does, and actually Betty mentioned that, Bullhorn Betty mentioned that she just had this feeling that he went to Washington State University with these intentions. And I thought she was crazy. I thought, no, I mean, did he know them, beforehand? How would he have known them beforehand or whatever? Or, and if so, why didn't he go to the University of Idaho? Did they not have a criminology department there, or criminal justice or whatever? I mean, these are things that he is the only person that knows the answer to those questions. But, when you take into account that he's been stalking them since August, he apparently, came into contact somehow, somewhere with them, shortly, just right after school started. And, the semester in August started. So, and, I still, yeah, exactly. How did he pick them? I believe that he either ate at the Mad Greek restaurant or he met them at, yeah, that's the restaurant, the Mad Greek, where Maddie and Xana worked at. Or he might have run into them at the Corner Club, because the Corner Club, has been in business since 1938, 28, I believe, 28 or 1928 or 38. Like, literally, there's a story about a guy riding his horse up to the bar. So, this was a very hot place, and we know that he hung out a lot at that little brewery pub place in Pennsylvania. So, this the Corner Club sounds like, maybe the type of little hot spot that he would have gone to hang out or whatever. So I feel as though it has to be one of the two, because, they went to the University of Idaho and he went to Washington State. So I don't know how they would have come into contact with him in Pullman, Washington, over near Washington State campus. And he himself said, has alleged to have said that the shopping was better in Idaho. So, which I can partially understand, because I do all my shopping in one town as opposed to the other, because there's way more restaurants, there's way more places to go that are not in the other town that's closest to me. So I go to one town where I get my prescriptions for my medication and all that, and then I go to a completely other town where I do all my shopping and stuff. So I mean, I can kind of understand that, but I believe it's at some point he came into contact with them. I don't believe he just, like, say for instance, found them on Instagram and said, "Oh, these are pretty girls. I think I want to, do horrible things to these girls. So, I'm going to find out where they live, where they go to school, where they, part of the plot was the commission of this crime in a neighboring state. Perhaps he thought these rural officers wouldn't be smart enough to track him." That is true too. But I still think that I still think that there had to be something, which nothing that these girls could have done warranted what he did to them at all. Nothing, absolutely nothing. I don't care if one of them beat the hell out of him. It didn't warrant this. So, but I don't think that he just, like, went over to Idaho State University, or excuse me, Idaho College, and scoped out which would be the best house, or best place that he could go, in and commit this horrible crime. I really think that, it was more personal, even if it was personal at a distance. Like, he knew them, but they didn't know him. But Kaylee, yeah, there is still so much information missing. You know, and Kaylee talked to a few people and said something about having a stalker, and the police said that they investigated and looked into it and didn't find anything. Well, you know, there might not have been anything for them to find as far as Bryan goes. You know, he could have been under, you know, like, well, we don't know yet if he was trying to contact them in any shape, way, or fashion, like on Instagram or Facebook or Twitter or anything like that. We don't even know any of that yet. We need to make sure the prosecutors are competent to represent the victims. I don't know how much about them, but I'm praying. Yes, absolutely, absolutely. And can I just comment? I hate to be judgmental, but the prosecutor looks like Santa Claus. He does. He looks like Kris Kringle himself. So, you know, let's just hope he is highly educated. And let's just hope that he is able to present this case in a way that that he is able to present this case in a way that, you know, there's no talking out your way out of it. I mean, like Juan Martinez did in the Jodi Arias trial. My God, you couldn't have asked for better. Were there mistakes, a lot of mistakes made by Marcia Clark and them? Absolutely, there was. Regardless of how you feel about Kyle Rittenhouse, the prosecutor in that trial sucked ass. So, oh, absolutely. Yeah, poor Kirk Nurmi, he quit. The guy that was Jodi Arias's lawyer, he literally quit practicing law after that. Horrible. The poor man had, I don't remember, something happened, like, or I want to say he was diagnosed with something, or might have had a heart attack or stroke. I can't remember exactly, but you see Kirk Nurmi now and you won't even recognize him. He does make an appearance every now and then on court TV as a legal analyst, but yeah, the prosecutor in the Kyle Rittenhouse case, he sucked. Let's see who else that comes to mind. Actually, you know, I think a lot of people actually underestimated Jose Baez, who was Casey Anthony's defense attorney. But, you know, he created enough reasonable doubt in her case that he got her off. Yes. Oh, my God. I could not believe he did that. That was just absolutely nuts, Abby. That was, oh my Lord. But yeah, and Kyle, he certainly couldn't have asked for a better defense attorney. So, but yeah, there's been, you know, a lot of cases where the prosecution just, I'll tell you another good prosecutor, and her name won't come to my mind, but she's the one who prosecuted Travis McMichael, Greg McMichael, and William Roddy Bryan, the guys who killed Ahmaud Arbery in Georgia. Honey, she nailed their asses to the wall. That woman was excellent. And I never got so tired of hearing William Roddy Bryan's lawyer would not shut up. And then he'd go on freaking, I want to say it was Vinnie Politan, and be yakking some more. And it's like, God, dude, do you ever shut up? Like, your client is going to prison. Shut up. He got on my damn nerves. But yeah, so I just hope that you know, the prosecution really, you know, presents this case in a way that there is no holes to be poked in it at all. I really, you know, I really hope that. Now, one of the things I wanted to say was, from, you know, from following many other trials, and I don't know how this is going to go with Idaho, but it will be up to the jury, you know, to find out, to decide his guilt or innocence. And it will be up to them to decide whether he gets the death penalty or life in prison. Will the what is it called, the jury instructions, will they be able to, let's say, if they feel that there's not enough evidence to warrant first degree murder, can they go down the line? Can they say, well, there's enough here to charge him, you know, to find him guilty of second degree murder, or manslaughter, or, you know, or a lower charge? I'm assuming that they'll be able to do that. I hope so. I hope it'll work out like that. And, you know, let's say they find him guilty for Ethan's murder, but they find him like not guilty for the other three. You know, he still faces a life sentence for just one murder. So, yes. Oh, to you. Okay. Well, good night. Go ahead and lay down. I totally understand. It's been a long day. I know it's been a long day for me. I've been up since early this morning. So, but have a good night. I'll see you on these streets tomorrow. So, you know, I definitely want to see that. But I want to talk a little bit about Dylan Mortensen for a minute, and I want to talk about fight or flight and freeze. I learned all about fight or flight during the Jodi Arias trial, and I had never really thought much about freeze until I started looking into it. And there's actually 4 responses. There's fight, there's flight, there's freeze, and there's flop. And what Dylan did basically was freeze. And, you know, everyone's coming back down on her. You know, why didn't you call 911 sooner? Why didn't you call 911 sooner? And that is a legitimate thing to question. This is not just a bunch of YouTubers or social media people hating on her or being ugly to her or victim blaming her or anything like that. Because trust me, people like Barbara Walters, Nancy Grace, Jerry Springer, maybe I need to go to bed too, Oto, to you. Larry King, you know, these are the Oprah, these are the tough questions that these people would be asking too. Why didn't you wait so long to call 911? And, you know, you've got people that, you know, do feel that it's a legitimate question to ask and a legitimate thing to, uh, you know, raise an eyebrow at, and wonder about. And then, you know, you've got people that you don't know what you would do in this situation. You don't know what you would do in this situation. So, you know, I thought that maybe I would talk about a few of like responses that I've had when I've been in traumatic situations. I thought I would kind of talk about a few of those, and just other responses that I've seen, you know, happen with other people I don't even know. Just, you know, it's just from, you know, covering true crime and studying true crime and stuff for so long. So, you know, like I've been shot at. Okay. I worked in Southwest Little Rock in the 90s and early 2000s. In the height of the gang wars and gang activity, if you know anything about Southwest Little Rock, it is the worst part of Little Rock. And I worked at a huge club in Southwest Little Rock. So I had to deal with all this kind of stuff. And on Thursday nights, we was hip hop night. And one time they found me up underneath my beer well. I had climbed up and I had crawled into this little tiny space up underneath the wooden platform that was built that my beer well set on. And because there were cue balls flying at my head and bouncing off the glass behind me. And then the next thing I know, there's pool sticks flying at my head. But that was from the bouncer snatching pool sticks out of people's hands. He didn't see me behind there because I'd done crawled up underneath it. So, you know, that was the easiest place for him to chunk all those pool sticks that he was pulling from people's hands and, you know, chunk them down in behind there. When he came back to get them is when he found me up underneath this beer well. There was one night where every blood and crip in Southwest Little Rock was in there, I think. And normally we didn't close till 2:00, and they hit the lights early and rushed everybody out of there because we were overcapacitated. And I'm standing there. That particular night, I had was working the front desk, checking people in, and these two girls, it was a scary night, a very scary night. Like I said, there was a lot of gang people in there that night. And these two girls literally came in behind the desk, and they were crying because they couldn't find their friend and they were scared. And all of a sudden, gunshots rang out. And my immediate knee-jerk reaction was I reached up and grabbed these two girls and jerked them both down in the floor with me in behind the desk. And then Buddy came flying over the top of it and landed on my hip, and I couldn't walk for a week. But you know, it was a knee-jerk reaction to not only protect myself, but to protect these two strange girls that I did not even know. If you listen to the last live, part 7 in this, you heard me talk about witnessing 2 car accidents and rendering aid to complete strangers. And they were bleeding. And it was my automatic reaction to render aid to these people. The girl that I rendered aid to, God, this was about 2:30 in the morning. And she fell asleep at the wheel and sideswiped a diesel. I drug her out of her SUV, which was over in the ditch, drug her out, got her out to see if she was bleeding, got a towel that just happened to be in my car, and you know, began to see if she was bleeding, where she was bleeding from, and rendered aid to her. I called her parents. The guy in the that was driving the 18-wheeler that she hit, he actually called 911, and which, you know, also sent the tow trucks. And I even took her parents to the tow yard where her vehicle was and everything. This guy was coming through my neighborhood one day, and it is 105 outside. And me and my daughter had been in the pool all day, and we went inside and we're sitting in the air conditioning watching Toddlers and Tiaras. And all of a sudden I hear bang, 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 pow, the lights go out. So I go running outside to see what's happened. This guy has flipped his car upside down and hit the light pole at the corner and took out all the electricity. So me and my neighbor, Corey, dragged this guy out of the road and over into Corey's yard. And while there's 15 people standing there gawking, watching to see what, and looking at us, what we're doing, I'm in my fat ass is in my bathing suit, okay, in front of all these people. And I render aid to him. I get a towel and ice from the people that live right next door to Corey, and you know, beat on their door and say, I need a towel and ice. And I rendered aid to him. He was bleeding. I was not thinking about AIDS. I was not thinking about HIV or hepatitis or any of that kind of stuff. I was rendering aid to him. I was asking him questions. Is there someone I can call for you? Is there, you know, what's your telephone number? I was asking him questions to keep him conscious because he was losing consciousness. So, you know, I feel like maybe a part of me a big part of me just has a knee-jerk reaction to help. Not only help people and not only to protect myself, but to protect other people as well. Now, a completely different incident that happened to me was in 2013. I fell out of my shower and broke my back. And something inside me triggered, it triggered something in me that I developed driving phobia. And it got to a point that I literally could not drive. I was terrified of someone hitting me. I was terrified of someone running a stop sign, of someone running a red light. I developed a fear of heights, and I used to not ever really have a fear of heights. I never had a fear of driving. I used to race mine and my ex-husband's truck. I had better takeoff than he did. I come from a family of racing. So, you know, to drive fast, to drive 110 mile an hour, you know, didn't faze me a bit. But then I literally could not even drive to the doctor's office without having a nervous breakdown. And it was horrible. And I'm the type of person that hides a lot of stuff, especially, you know, feelings and emotions and you know, things like that. And I just broke down bawling one day in my doctor's office. And I said, "You're going to think I'm crazy, but this is what's going on." And he said, "Amy, you're not crazy." He said, "Something, you know, fear has been triggered inside you, you know, from this fall that you took." And I still have a lot of issues with driving. Don't ask me why. I can't explain it, but I do. And, you know, it's, so, you know, we don't know how we would react to trauma or to fear of something until it happens to us. And it's, you know, yes, it's easy to Monday morning quarterback, as we say here in the South. So there's a lot of people that are coming to Dylan's defense. Do I understand her freezing out of fear? Absolutely. I understand it. But she was not frozen enough that, yeah, she immediately, you know, she comes face to face, allegedly, per her claims, she comes face to face with this masked man dressed in black with bushy eyebrows, you know, in the dark in her home. After hearing crying and someone's in the house and, you know, different kinds of commotion that led her to open her door 3 times to see what was going on that night. So she sees this masked intruder and she freezes out of fear, and he pauses and then walks on out the back door, out the back sliding glass door. she, locks her door, gets in her room, locks her door, and, that's it. Up to that point, I completely understand her response. What I can't understand, and what nobody else can understand, is why it took between almost 8 hours for her to call someone. And we know she didn't even call she or whoever did not call. We still don't actually know who called 911. But for someone to call 911, but her, Bethany, one, called friends to come over there. They called Ethan's brother over there. And, who was passed out, who was unconscious, we don't know yet. We don't know any of that stuff. I wish to God the police would just go on and release that 911 call. If there's not anything in it that could help Bryan's defense in any way, then please release it so we can get on with it, so we can move on. But what on earth was she doing from the time she locked her door for up to 8 hours? Was she sitting in the corner of her room, terrified, scared? Did she go to sleep? Did she faint in her floor and wake up 8 hours later? What was going on? Why did it take her so long to call anybody, much less call 911, or go check on her friends, or even text them and say, hey, y'all all right in there, or at least go see why your friend is crying? I mean, so, but for some reason, I just don't, I would be scared to death regardless of who I thought might be in my house, dressed in black with a mask on their face. I don't know. I very rarely see anybody wearing COVID masks anymore. I don't know what it's like where you live, but around here, nobody's wearing a COVID mask. Very rarely. Now when I've had to go to the emergency room and hospital and stuff, like recently when I had to go get a blood transfusion, I had to wear a mask in the ER, but and then, of course, the hospital personnel is wearing masks, but I wasn't required to wear a mask in my room or anything like that. So, but I just can't. She was scared enough of this masked person at 4 a.m. at 4:30 in the morning in her house that she locked the door. So, I just can't understand, what in the world she was doing or what was going on that she didn't at the very least, go see why her friend was crying, or or anything. And she hears this big loud thud and all this different commotion, and she just shuts the door and ignores it. I realize that noise and stuff like that in a happening place with several people living in it. Xana had just gotten a DoorDash, and Kaylee was playing with her dog, and everybody's coming in at 2 in the morning and whatnot. But there is just not anything I can come up with as to why within at least, my God, an hour at the most, that she didn't call 911. And even if it turned out to be nothing, even if it turned out to be a prank, or who or what it turned out to be, you just can't be, it's better to be safe than sorry, in my opinion. So, you know, I mean, I've called the police to my house a dozen times for different reasons. I would come home, you know, after working at the bar, at all hours of the night and whatnot, and there'd be strange cars parked up on the levee on the lake that I lived on. And come to find out, it was my neighbor's daughter who was sneaking out and meeting her friends out over there. But then one night, called the police over there, and it was a known drug dealer who was up there in behind my house. And it was private property, and he was not allowed to be there fishing or whatever the hell he was doing. I came home one night, and the front door was wide open. And come to find out, it was my boyfriend didn't shut the door good or something. But yeah, you come home and find your door standing wide open. What are you going to do? You're going to call the police. Well, I did. And the police came over there, and they searched my house with guns drawn, looked in the closets, under the beds, and everything, and cleared my house before I went in it. So that's just what myself, and I know other people, are having a hard time with. It's not about victim blaming. You know, she is a survivor. I'm sure she's living with survivor's guilt. If any of you know what survivor's guilt is, you know, and I'm sure she's living with, you know, the fact that she could have been killed herself. You know, but for her not to have called 911 for almost 8 hours, I cannot understand it. But because I have seen cases after cases after cases where people have escaped their captors, they've escaped their essayers. You know, I got to watch it with the R word here on YouTube. So they've escaped their essayers. They've escaped, you know, near-death experiences, you know, and ran for help, even if they were running naked, or half clothed. Think about the guy that escaped Jeffrey Dahmer. You know, the victim that survived that escaped Jeffrey Dahmer. I've seen children who will call 911 and say, you know, my mommy is dead on the floor, or, you know, my daddy shot my mommy, you know, or something of that nature. My goddaughter was barely 2 years old, and my, you know, former best friend would take too many pills, and she'd be passed out on the couch or in the bed or whatever, and she would call the operator. That was all she knew at barely 2 years old, was to dial 0 on the phone and call the operator and say, my mommy won't wake up. And the police would have to respond to the house. I can't tell you how many times my goddaughter called the operator when she was little, so young. I mean, 2 and 3 years old. So, I just don't, you know, I understand the whole freezing to a point. I understand that we all have different reactions to fear and trauma and things like that. But I would really love for Dylan to explain herself. I would really love for her to explain herself. And, she was aware enough that she gave the police a good physical description of the guy. And she was close enough to him that she saw that he had bushy eyebrows. He was around 5'10", medium build, and what he was wearing. And, this is something that I've actually thought about because I tend to overthink everything. But you see these people giving a description of someone to a sketch artist, and I have wondered if I would be able to do something like that. If I had to describe a person, let's just say, if I had to describe Kurt Cobain to the police, and I have 15 shirts with Kurt Cobain's picture on it. I have all sorts of Nirvana paraphernalia. But I have often wondered if it were me trying to describe to a sketch artist his facial features, the shape of his face, the color of his eyes, whether he had a heart-shaped face or a round face or a square jaw or a dimples, that kind of stuff. I have often wondered if I would even be able to do that. And this is somebody that I see, on a daily basis, every day is a picture of Kurt Cobain. But imagine trying to describe an attacker, a man that essayed you or kidnapped you and held you captive or broke into your house or whatever, how you could describe that person to a sketch artist or describe that person to the police. And, I have to wonder, even if I could see them in my head, if I could convey it to the police or a sketch artist well enough to get an accurate picture of an assailant. But she was able to give the police a pretty damn good description of this intruder who had a mask covering, the lower half of his face. I don't know whether he had a hood on or not. I don't think it said, but or whether he had a ball cap on, but she was able to describe how tall he was and his build and all that kind of stuff. And those are actually things that I have actual training in that kind of thing as well, because when I worked at the bar, I had to be able to look at a driver's license and be able to tell if this was the same person in the photo that was standing in front of me. And I'll give you an example. One night, after the whole incident of the big shooting that we had, the following weekend, we had about 15 cop cars sitting out front. We had ABC, we had police and everything up front, and they were watching everybody that came in there. They were watching every move. One of the things I was trained in is to look for color. Just because you don't have a red shirt on or a blue shirt on that represents Crips and Bloods, you have to look at things like tennis shoelaces, little those little ringlet hook things like you would hook your wallet or something onto your belt loop or whatever, or even a belt itself. You look for that red color, you look for that blue color. There was a guy that came in one night, and that particular night, and he looked exactly identical to the photo on the driver's license. Hi, Sally, my Jack. Can't stay, just want to stop in and show some. Well, hello, darling. How are you? Thank you for stopping by. Looked exactly identical to this guy in the photo on the driver's license. But when he filled out his little thing for a membership card, the signatures didn't match. And the signature on the paper he was filling out didn't match the signature on the driver's license. And, you know, you've got ABC and all these people standing there watching you. I'm looking at him. I'm looking at Steele. I'm looking. Finally motioned for them to come over there. This guy was wanted for parole violation. I got that dude sent back to the pen that night. He was wanted for parole violation. Plus, I sent several other people to jail that particular night, too. For one reason or another, because their stuff, you know, just didn't match up. You know, or trying to get in with a fake ID or whatever. So I have some, you know, training in things like this, and I'm just not sure if I could. I'm not sure if I could give an accurate description in the face of danger or trauma or fear. So, you know, no one's trying to be ugly to Dylan. At least I know I'm not. And anybody that tries to, you know, have a fair and reasonable YouTube channel out here is not deliberately trying to hate on her or be ugly to her. But, you know, it is definitely a legitimate question to ask, is what kept you from calling 911 for so long? That's all, you know, all we really, you know, a lot of us really want to know. So, you know, I just wanted to share those things with y'all and share my experience, a few experiences that I've had and my reaction to those situations. And I mean, have y'all been in any situations like that yourselves, and how you have reacted to trauma or danger or fear or you know, an accident, or, you know, seeing someone hurt or anything like that? Have y'all had situations? Yeah, she can't answer now, especially with the gag order. And allegedly she this is what's being said. I mean, on one hand, I'm hearing that the family, like Kaylee's family, is defending Dylan. And then on one hand, I'm hearing that they have reached out to her. They have tried to talk to her, and she will not answer their calls or return their calls. Oh, yeah, she was terrified. I mean, I know I would be terrified. You know, but it's just a reasonable question, because the thought of, could she have saved someone, has to run through your mind. You know, I hope that no one suffered. I hope that no one had to, lay there, and I don't think I have to finish the sentence, but I'd be running to Kansas if it, yeah. I and like I said, I'm sure she's, living with a lot of PTSD, and probably, and survivor's guilt, and woulda, coulda, shoulda, and maybe she doesn't need us beating her up on top of that. But it's not so much about beating her up or victim blaming or victim shaming, as it just is trying to debate a legitimate and ask a legitimate question. But yeah, you're right, Charlie. Now she can't come out and speak, which I don't think there would be anything wrong with her coming out and at least addressing that. um you know um but I'm sure she's, I don't know where she is. I don't know whether she returned to school, how much time left in school she had. Did she transfer somewhere else? What she's going to be taking a year off. We don't know anything about her personally, so or what's going on, currently in her life. So, and not a single word about, from, or anything regarding Bethany Funk, the girl who was down in the basement floor. And did she sleep through the entire thing? Did she not hear anything? We don't know. I mean, it's very plausible that she didn't hear anything. As I've said, my aunt has a basement, my cousin has a basement, and you can't hear shit down there from in that basement from upstairs. So, and those houses, my cousin's house, my aunt's house, those are only 2-story houses. So, I don't know how in the world she would have heard anything up on that 3rd floor. So she's probably at family's place yeah. I don't, I wish her and Bethany both well. I don't want anything horrible to happen to them. I don't wish that, he had done anything to them, as well. But it's just a legitimate wondering of, what in the world was going on. I think it would help a lot if they would at least release the 911 call, and just I mean, I don't see anything wrong, even if you just release part of it. You know Now, are we owed any kind of explanation from Bethany or Dylan for that matter? No. But, you know, us nosy folks, curiosity killed the cat. So, does anybody have anything they wanted to talk about or ask about or anything that you've heard or seen on other channels or posted somewhere else or anything like that? I know there's another issue with a woman who was seen at the crime scene in the last few days or so that it has been alleged to have been Bryan's sister. Yes, the photo does look very much like Bryan's sister, but would anybody outside of law enforcement or outside of someone that was brought in by law enforcement or hired by law enforcement being allowed to go to that crime scene? I cannot imagine that they would allow that. But what I will say is that it damn sure looked like his sister. So, hi, Cindy Forrester. How are you? I've enjoyed listening to you. I subscribed to Molly and enjoyed you in her chat. I subscribed to you today and look forward to joining in more of your chats. Wanted you to know. Oh, you're from Arkansas too? I'm in Southwest Arkansas. What part of you are you in Arkansas? Are you central, southwest, southeast, northwest, or northeast? But I'm glad to have somebody else from Arkansas in here, so I don't sound like such a foreigner to these Northerners, these Yankees in here like Charlie. Oh, Amy, did you see the movie? No, I didn't get to watch it. I thought I was going to be able to watch it on my Roku, on Plex TV, but actually you can. Oh, you're in Little Rock, okay. Well, then you know exactly if you're more than 40 years old, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Southwest Little Rock. Then I'm sure you know exactly what I was talking about in regards to Southwest Little Rock and how dangerous it is. No, yeah, Charlie, I didn't get to see it. You can get it on Amazon Prime for 99 cents, I think it is. You know, no, I feel like everyone. um, some people can't deal with my voice because it gets on their nerves. So, but I mean, I've like watched a few scenes from it. It's basically a Blair Witch Project type movie. It's a independent film. Newbie, actors, and it's if you remember the Blair Witch Project, it's basically kind of like a a college, uh, very low budget. I'm way above 40 and Southwest and Little Rock too. Okay, okay. Well, I live on Lake DeGray. So, but yeah, I did get to see, some scenes from it. And, in talking about Bryan's bizarre behavior, yeah, let me just add in the bizarre things regarding his family. In and of itself, these things are not odd at all. Sister being in a low budget slasher movie, no big deal. Sister being a mental health therapist, no big deal. Mom writing letters to the editor and things like that. Little out of the ordinary when you take into consideration what she wrote about. And that was defending Ted Bundy. She wrote like a letter to the editor or whatever, about, it is a sad day in America when people will applaud the hearse driving by with, for people to applaud the hearse driving by with Ted Bundy's body in it. What has this world come to? So it's okay, if the state does it. And I'm just thinking, okay, lady, you got to have one seriously bleeding heart to defend somebody like Ted Bundy, okay? There are a lot of legitimate things that I could defend Eileen Wuornos about. There is things that I could defend Ethan Crumley about. There are, and I have been a long time advocate, years long advocate for 3 teenagers who were accused of brutally murdering 3 8-year-olds in an alleged satanic sacrifice, which is the West Memphis 3, Damien Eccles, Jesse Miskelly, and Jason Baldwin. I have been reamed and dogged by people who believe that they're guilty for defending them. Ted Bundy? Come on. Ted Bundy. That's like defending Jeffrey Dahmer or defending John Wayne Gacy or the BTK killer. These people, Richard Ramirez, these people that have clearly told you what the hell they did and talked to you and told you the horrific details of what they did, just like I have sat here and talked to y'all for the last hour and a half. It is sickening. Sickening. I can't imagine defending Ted Bundy. Ted Bundy triggers me anyway. He looks like my former stepfather, who was very abusive to me and my mother. I mean, it triggers me. It freaks me the hell out. That's why he is not one of the serial killers that I know a whole lot of details about, other than the basics, because he triggers me so bad. And even now when I report on a lot of these cases, y'all know if you've been listening to me very long, how hard it is for me to repeat some of these details that people have done to other people, especially children. If you heard my video, if you watched my video about the little 6-year-old boy that mom's boyfriend murdered just right before Christmas here in Arkansas, I bawled all the way through that and only stayed on for 30 minutes. You know, what the things that were done to Cupcake McKinney are things that I can't even repeat. I can't. Just sadistic, evil, horrible acts. And so, you know, I mean, it just, I can't imagine defending anybody like Ted Bundy or John Wayne Gacy or Jeffrey Dahmer or anybody like that. It's absolutely sickening. But, you know, I'm not one that is against the death penalty. But I am one that I have to know beyond all reasonable doubt that you are absolutely 100% guilty of the crime in which you're charged with. There cannot be any doubt. And there was way too much doubt about Damien Eccles. And in my opinion, there is way too much doubt in the Darlie Routier case from the 90s. Woman who is sitting on death row in Texas for killing her 2 children. There's just too much doubt for these people to be on death row. So I've got to be 100% that you're guilty, and these crimes have got to be something within such a horrific act that there is no way you can be rehabilitated for it whatsoever. I'm not talking about a husband that comes home and catches his wife in bed with another man. You know, I'm not talking about, you know, a road rage incident where, or, you know, or whatever, or a barroom fight, or I'm not talking about, you know, somebody killing their stepfather for being abusive, or a husband for being abusive or whatever. You know, I'm talking about sick, despicable stuff that people, there is just absolutely nothing redeemable about that person. I haven't heard of that story. Where can I hear more? Which story, Cindy? Are you talking about Darlie Routier? I'm sure you know, if you're from Arkansas, you know who the West Memphis 3 are. Oh yeah, you're going to go through 20-something years of appeals. Darlie is in appeals right now too. She's been waiting for a bunch of DNA testing that should have been done years ago in her case. But when they filed for a lot of this, it all happened when COVID hit. So, but it still shouldn't be taking this damn long. But yeah, she's been, see what it was happening in 96. So that's what, 27 years. Yeah, about almost 27 years that she's been on death row. So yeah, Darlie Routier, if that's the case you're talking about, Cindy, that happened in Rowlett, Texas in 96. You spell her name Darlie, Routier, Routier. But would I be against the death penalty for any reason in this case? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. There is absolutely no excuse or reasoning whatsoever to have done what Bryan Kohberger is alleged to have done. There is nothing, no excuse whatsoever. Oh, the one I couldn't get all the way. Oh, the little boy here in Arkansas. His mother's name, they're in Lee County Jail. This happened in Morrow, Arkansas. Ashley Rowland and the guy's name is I have to look but yeah, it just happened here in December, and I actually missed it breaking when it broke because I was so invested in this case, in the Idaho 4 case. But then as soon as I found out about it, I immediately reported on it, and I mean, I just, what was done to them. And there's a daughter who is in a Memphis hospital suffering from burns and all sorts of horrific abuse injuries. I agree with you on the ones yeah, definitely. I think that if you kill a child under a certain age, then it should just be the automatic death penalty. We've got to do something to stop this people killing their kids. We've got an epidemic of it, serious epidemic of it, all over the place. Oakley, Carlson, Harmony, Montgomery, we still don't know where Summer is. Monkey Vaughn, Cupcake McKinney, the kids in Houston, Texas. That's one of the cases I'm covering where parents are sitting in jail. Woman killed her kids in California on Mother's Day this past year. Justine Johnson, who was so high on cocaine and heroin, she thought SpongeBob SquarePants was telling her to kill her child. Yeah, when does the madness end? Something's got to be done to Kamari Holland. That's who I was thinking of, the mother who sold that little girl, and that's all I'm going to say. Sold that little girl. That chick that left her little autistic son on a cold, deserted, rainy road in a neighboring state, and a man just happened to find him, you know, and she was so strung out on drugs she didn't know shit from Cheyenne, what she was doing or whatever. And that ain't no excuse either. Not when you now, you know, it's one ball game when you're suffering from paranoid schizophrenia, from your own body chemistry, from your own brain neurons. But when you knowingly put drugs or alcohol or anything like that into your body that you know are going to alter your state of mind, and then you do something to your child, which like what happened with Quentin Simon, and you know, no, it's no excuse whatsoever. And a lot of people nowadays aren't even getting by with mental illness. You know, Travis Ryan King, I covered that trial, and that dude was cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. And but he still was in his right mind enough that he knew what he was doing, and he knew what he was doing was wrong. Same thing that happened with Andrea Yates. The devil was talking to that woman. She was hearing voices. She had been on and off some of the most strongest mental health drugs there is. But still, she knew right from wrong, and she knew that she had to do what she was going to do at a specific time to where that no one would be around to stop her. And then after she took the lives of her children, she picked up the phone and called 911 and said, I need police to such and such address. I've just killed my kids. So, you know, that's no excuse either, for anybody. And it didn't work for Nicholas Cruz either. So, but you know, the government's going to have to send some kind of message. And I say the government, but I mean, you know, the justice system is going to have to send some kind of message. Bryan is going to play cuckoo. Wait. Yeah. You know, he might play that card possibly at some point, but I really believe that he has got that mind. Hi, Savannah. I really think that Bryan has got the mind of, you know, someone like the BTK killer and Ted Bundy and them, that they think they're smarter than everybody else, and they're going to play manipulative mind games. I think he is going to play some manipulative mind games with all this. You know, I was saying earlier that it's rumored that he might have possibly been participating on Reddit and Facebook, in the main Facebook group for the Idaho 4 case discussion. People are questioning whether he could have been, that he might be these two identities. The one on Reddit's called Inside Looking, and the one on Facebook is called Papa Rogers. And Papa Rogers is in, I hope he just please, we could only wish God, I wish he would too, and save the whole, save the families and save, Dylan and Ethan Dylan and Hunter and Bethany and the Maddie's family, Kaylee's family, Ethan's family, all these families and everybody from all the trauma of a trial and to where that they don't have to see the horror that this guy inflicted on their loved ones. I know that Steve Gonclaves saw his daughter. That's his choice, his business, but the trauma of a trial and dragging out justice for years to come and whatnot. Me too. I pray that he would just do us all a favor and plead guilty. Oh yeah, there's so much evidence against him now and still more to come, because we don't know what they've uncovered, all his personal belongings and inside that car, no matter how much he tried to clean it, and everything. Because I think that he is meticulous enough that it may be hidden somewhere, but I think that he has left, some sort of written confession or a manifesto or something behind somewhere. I even think that he has kept the knife. Now, it may be buried in a hole somewhere in Timbuktu, but a lot of people think that he got rid of it. Who knows? Only he knows the answer to that question. But I just have a gut feeling that this guy wants to revel in what he did, just like him going back to the scene twice and, to check out the aftermath. And, people believe that he has been on Reddit and probably 4chan and Facebook and, participating in discussions under alias names. But the mom and dad knew about the murder. Why was it? Yeah, I find that odd too. Him flying out there to drive all the way back home. Damn, that's a hell of a drive. Yeah, I'm anxious to find out if that was a pre-planned ordeal or not. If when those plans came about for Daddy to fly out there to ride back across the country with him, and when those plans came up, I'm really anxious to find out about that. Yeah, I know, Savannah. I was saying that today too. I'm like, okay, you've got a quadruple homicide that has happened less than 10 miles away from your son's college on another college campus, and they're looking for a white Hyundai Elantra, and gee, your son drives a white Hyundai Elantra? No one in the world wants to believe that their child is a killer, or even especially a quadruple killer. But I mean, I think that I would at least be questioning one of my kids. Yeah, they have to know he had psychological problems, and he's got a sister that's a therapist. Are you going to tell me that did she not see him enough to notice the signs, or anything like that? They've had to know. They had to know about his drug addiction, because this allegedly went on during high school. So, I mean, he was still living at home. I mean, heroin is not, pot. That's a serious drug. So, they've had to have known that, something wasn't right about their kid. I bet the dad was just as nervous as Bryan when they. Yeah, that it's aggravating because half of that footage is pointing towards the ground. You don't even get Bryan and his dad on the whole body cam footage from that pullover. At least in one of them. Now, I don't think I've actually seen both of them. I know I've seen one of them, but and the body cam was pointed towards the ground most of the time, except for that one part. But I don't know if I don't come to think of it. Now that you mention it, I don't think I've actually seen both stops. Are both stops out? I'm gonna have to dig around. And that was something I heard today, Savannah, was that he was allegedly planning to sell the car in Pennsylvania. That's something I heard today. I bet the dad. Yeah, Cindy. Yeah, he did look scared. He and they in those pullovers. I mean, my God, his eyes looked like they were about to bug out of his head. And he they said he was shocked or seemed shocked when he got arrested. Like I said, this guy thinks or thought that he committed the perfect crime. So, I fully believe that he's going to do some toying around and manipulating around with this case. No, he's not as smart as he thought he was. And while he may be book smart, common sense will get you further in life than any book will. If you ain't got street smarts, you're shit out of luck these days. If you don't know how to survive, in certain conditions or certain, under certain circumstances, and you don't have street smarts and stuff. I mean, while he's concentrating on criminology and studying the criminal mind and court cases and case law and things like that, let's not forget, like I said, you can't flick a booger in this country anymore without Big Brother seeing it. Somebody's going to catch it on camera somewhere. So, these license plate readers and all that, I wasn't even aware of license plate readers. I actually, the first time I've ever heard license plate readers mentioned was in one of the Fast and Furious movies, until Brian Laundrie, and that license plate reader caught him when he got entered back into Florida. They caught the date and time and everything when he entered back into Florida. it's going to be interesting if this trail, if it, yeah, definitely. So, you know, I mean, you know, I'm still behind on technology. I'm still way behind. So, okay. Well, thank you so much for coming in, Cindy. I appreciate it. And, you know, if you're down this way, maybe one day when it warms up this summer, you could maybe come down here and go raft floating with me on Lake DeGray. I get bored by myself uh, floating. So, but yeah, I'm so glad you came in, and look forward to seeing you in here again. Um, Thank you so much. But yeah, yeah, he wasn't as smart as he thought he was. Exactly, Savannah. Exactly. Drive his own car. At least park far enough away, you know, and walk. You know, he could have parked a couple of blocks away, even. But no, I mean, and you got to remember, there's one way in and one way out. You got to be directly going to that house or one of those places next to it to be driving around in through there if you're not going to that house. So it, I just think that he's looking to he's going to be playing some mind games in some shape, fashion, or form. He's going to play some mind games, and he's going to be aiding in his own defense uh, more than we expect, which is something that Jodi Arias did. You know, she aided in her defense just a little bit too much as well. Like I said, she drove Kirk Nermy to give up his long, long law career. That poor man. I feel sorry for that guy now when I see him. I might have hated him when he was defending her, but I feel terrible now for him. I was, I've seen him since, and God bless his heart. You know, she put that poor man through hell. She put us all through hell, and I was just a spectator. But I did. I had to take a break from true crime after that trial. I invested 2 years of my life into that, night and day. And I had to take a mental break after that. Yeah, it is a one-way street basically. Um you come up Taylor in behind the Sigma Chi house in front of those apartments, and then you turn up King Road or Queen Road, and then onto their road, and you can go up, like I said, behind the house, which is believed that's where he went up there and parked and waited for, you know, the time to go in the house, that he pulled up into that little parking lot that's in behind the house. Oh yeah, they do. They sure do. Um, and because they said that light was out back there, and it was very, very dark. and all you had to do was just walk through that little bit of patch of trees and you know, come right up into that second floor, into that um, through that sliding black back glass door. And if he'd been staking it out and stalking it out for all that time, I mean, I assume that he knew where his targets, what floor their bedrooms were on. Yeah, I'm a little surprised by that too, Savannah. Because it's like he had to have gone in not 5 minutes after she got that DoorDash. You know, and again, you got to question. This brings in, and the DoorDash, whoever delivered the DoorDash, that's a new witness. Did that witness see that? What did that person delivering the DoorDash? Did he see that white car or see anybody around out there that night? There were a lot of people out there in that area at that time of night. There's some people that we don't even know who they were. They were just happened to be caught running in the background of the police body cam video. There's the 3 kids that got the citations. There's the one kid that they let go because he was 21, and he didn't have an open container, so the police let him go. There was just a lot going on out there that night that I can't believe that someone didn't see or hear something. Obsessed with Maddie, yeah. I'm honestly, I'm leaning more. At first, you know, I leaned towards Maddie and Kaylee, and then I changed my mind to Ethan and Xana when all the Sigma Chi rumor and all that stuff started coming out about Sigma Chi brothers allegedly committing this crime, and that Ethan had gotten into it with somebody that night. And then, you know, with the arrest, it went back to you know, of course, to Kaylee and Maddie, and then come to find out, you know, he was allegedly not at the corner club that night. He was not at the grub truck that night. We know he was not at no Sigma Chi party that night. So who were the targets? We know, I mean, I think it's reasonable enough to speculate that, considering he left that knife sheath on Maddie's bed, that he went upstairs first and took out Maddie and Kaylee, and then came downstairs and took out Ethan and Xana. That's, you know, just my theory. Oh, and with that knife sheath evidence, because most people carry a knife sheath on their belt, and Maddie had a big letter M in her bedroom window. Oh, I guess I didn't see that. I know Betty and Olivia made note of the little flickering lights that were in either, I think it was Maddie's window or Kaylee's one, but I didn't know about the big M. Yeah, he may not have been expecting anybody else to have been in the bed with her. So, you know, if the contact was not made at the corner club or the grub truck or Sigma Chi, Kaylee, as far as I know, worked online. So he wouldn't have encountered Kaylee at her job anywhere. But Maddie and Xana, and them working at a well-known vegan restaurant, you know, that's where I have to now make my assumption that he possibly first came into contact with them. So, you know, it was speculated that Kaylee was the target because she allegedly had worse wounds than Maddie did, but that could be explained away by jealousy, if you think about it. If he was obsessed with Maddie, then, you know, being jealous of her best friend or her boyfriend, the second two people that, you know, the two people that were closest to her, he would have been jealous of them, and he would have been jealous of Ethan, if his fixation was on Xana. So, so it's not to, you know, it's reasonable to think that either Ethan or Kaylee might have worse wounds than Xana or Maddie because of the more anger that he might have felt toward them out of pure jealousy. You see what I'm saying? You understand what I'm saying? Um, he went there to SA, but the two girls. That's true. You know, there's also been that, you know, all the speculation about him possibly being an incel. And I said in one of my lives that he, you know, he does, you know, have some of, I feel like he does have some of the criteria to fit an incel. But he's the only one, you know, that really knows for sure. I don't know much about the whole incel stuff. The only time I've ever even heard anything about it is literally on an episode of Law and Order SVU. They did a they did a segment, they did a show on some incels that went and killed each other's girls. That there was like 3 of them involved, and they killed each other's fixated girl, and or no, well, no, only one of them was killed. The other 2 were SA'd, and the boyfriends were tied up or something. I don't remember. It's on an episode of Law and Order SVU, but yeah, it you know, I don't know. He's really the only one that can answer that stuff. What was on his mind, and what was he, you know, why he did this, what, you know, I don't even, that is something also that I have never understood, is killing somebody that you are allegedly in love with, or have an ideation about, or you are a fan of, or whatever, you know. Like, I don't know, Mark David Chapman was getting John Lennon's autograph right before he walked up and shot him in the street. There was that other girl, that Hollywood actress that she answered the door, you know, and this guy had come to her door like a couple of times, and then the second or third time he went up to her door, he shot her. That And then there was that young little girl that got shot on stage. She didn't even have a chance to make it big. She had won Britain's Got Talent or something like that. She'd won one of them little contest shows or something, and she hadn't even had a chance to make it really big yet. If y'all know who I'm talking about, you know, just different people. I just don't understand that kind of thing. It just doesn't make any sense, in my opinion. But, you know, people are strange. Just like Jim Morrison said, people are strange. You don't trust anyone. I know. And so, you know, whatever, just when I think I've seen and heard it all, you know, something else totally blows my mind. And I think, God, how much more, you know, can I witness in this lifetime that is just off the wall? And, you know, it's just crazy. You can't trust anybody. And then you've got, you know, all these people running around out here with mental health issues and stuff, like Travis Ryan King and you know, that guy that shot Dimebag Darrell from Pantera, who thought that Pantera was stealing his thoughts and was pissed off because Pantera broke up, and you know, all these different mass shootings and stuff. The world has gone mad, and you know, I think the mass media has a lot to do with it. And so, you know, us YouTubers and podcasters and you know, we have more of a leeway. We don't have a boss we have to answer to. So I can put out whatever I want to on my channel. I can say whatever I want to. I can put out whatever I want to. And I'm not going to, you know, pussyfoot or dance around stuff. And I'm going to, I want to share my experiences like, you know, like I did tonight, in the face of danger, and what, if not to help somebody and to bring awareness that, you know, we have these problems and we have these issues, and talk about mental health. And because the one thing I can tell you about having mental illness is that you feel like you're alone. You feel like you're the only person in the world that has this problem, and you're not. You're not the only person. And mental health is something that's going to have to quit being made so taboo, and it's has to be something that has got to be talked about, and it's something that affects everybody. It doesn't show, you know, it has no name on it, you know. It don't just target a certain group of people. It targets rich people, poor people, white people, black people, Asian people, gay people, trans people, straight people, men, women, children. You know, it affects us all. So, you know, it's something that's going to have to be addressed and be talked about, and that's not something that the mainstream media is going to get into a discussion about or talk about or anything. So, you know, it's just crazy to think that this guy's own sister is a mental health therapist. And I don't know. Yeah, I'm wondering about that too. That's going to be interesting, and him, that they're going to give him a mental evaluation too, as well. I'm sure he's already got one scheduled. Um, Probably two, because the defense is going to want one, and the prosecution's going to want one. So, yeah, I'd like to see what he scores and whatnot, like on a DSM or is it DSM or DDM or something like that? Because I have to think that his problems didn't just start in high school with being bullied for being overweight. His problems go back long before that. I can almost guarantee you something in his past, whether it be his parents or just some kind of issues. But I can almost guarantee it goes back long before he ever got to high school and was being bullied. I just, I want to know too, how long he has had homicidal ideation on his mind, and whether or not he has had homicidal ideation as well as, taking your own life ideation as well. You know, people say his parents were just the sweetest, most nicest people you could ever ask for, but who knows what they were like behind closed doors. They might have beat the hell out of that kid for all we know behind closed doors. You never know. Shouldn't they do one so he can? Yeah, but the only thing not in his favor is that there's no insanity pleas. Idaho does not accept an insanity plea. I wonder how many times he almost killed or try. Yeah. Yeah, he something went wrong somewhere. And I think, just from his reputation of being a little too, what's the word I'm looking for? He was just a little too with women, asking, creepy questions, and then when they wouldn't conversate with him or answer him or talk to him, and him getting irate and mad, and he even called one girl a bitch, which, is nothing in it. I mean, I've called guys assholes many a times for, because I thought they were being an asshole. But you know, he wrote that he liked to walk around the streets at night when he was younger. Oh, yeah, he can't plead insanity. Apparently, from what I understand, Charlie, Idaho does not accept insanity to pleas. I've never heard that, but apparently they don't. So, well, that's creepy, Savannah. That's weird. So he's been a night owl for a long time then, apparently. And that another making of a serial killer. The night owls, the night predators, the night stalker. Yeah. You don't hear too much about people doing this kind of stuff in the broad daylight. You don't hear about the daylight killer. You hear about the night stalker, Richard Ramirez, you know. And what Charlie? What was it that Peeping Tom? Oh, I bet you he was too. I bet you he was too. Um, what was that how they referred to that the Manson family used to do, Charlie K? What was that referred to? Were they creeping? Was it called creeping? Creepy crawling, creepy crawling. The Manson family used to go creepy crawling. That's what it was called. Yeah, I bet you he was doing a bunch of creepy crawling himself and sneaking and peeping. And I wonder if he's ever went to any strip clubs. Um, that'd be something interesting to find out. Um, if he's ever tried to, if he's ever gone and hung out in strip clubs or um, escort services or anything like that. Yeah, I agree with you, Savannah. I think he's been looking for targets for a long time too. Um, I just got that just from his reputation that people have come out and stated about him and stuff. And I mean, they literally, the people at that brewery, they had it in their computer system. So when his driver's license was scanned in, those comments about him came up in their system. They had this stuff put into their system at this little brewery pub place or whatever. Y'all excuse me for just a second. I'm gonna eat a couple of bites of this spinach dip. Anybody like spinach dip? Hey Annabella, how are you? Yeah, he is. He's creepy. He's the more I look at him, I see I'm beginning to see more creepiness in his eyes and stuff. And I've looked into the eyes of a lot of the killers and different people that I've studied and cases I've followed and stuff. And you can, the eyes are the window to the soul, as they say. And yeah, you can look in the eyes of somebody and not see a soul looking back at you. Female students. Yeah, well, there's been two girls that have come out that have spoke in in favor of him, you know, and that they were just totally shocked by his arrest. There's been two girls that have come out. I just what I think it's from News Nation. Somebody just did a special like on this because I just watched it this afternoon. I want to say News Nation put it out, but it's like a 45-minute new little special, and those two girls are in that video that are talking about him, and they were friends with him back in high school and stuff or whatever, and they said, you know, he was funny, and you know, he didn't have a whole lot of friends, but to them he was all right, you know, and he was funny, and he was he might have appeared shy, but when you around the people that he knew, you know, he was very talkative and whatnot. So yeah, he so you know, he did have, you know, some relationships, as I mean, even if they were just friendships with females. So he is hollow look. Yeah, yeah, I didn't see it so much at first. You can see it. I don't know what it is about mugshots, but you can definitely see that the just this evil look of evil in his eyes in his mugshots, but his regular pictures, he sort of, you know, just doesn't look, you know, any different than anybody else. But but you got to consider too that those pictures were taken before he committed these crimes. Um, you know, I think something definitely changes inside you, probably, um, that, you know, gives you a completely different, you know, look into your eyes, or, you know, mm, I can imagine. I just, I just want to know why on earth he did this. What the hell gave him permission, you know, to take these four people, you know, lives away from them, you know. I, you know, as much as I want to understand, or try somehow to come to some kind of understanding of why people just kill people for the hell of it, or they're just predators, you know. Um, Predators, you know, like John Wayne Gacy and Ted Bundy and BTK and Richard Ramirez. They're like animals looking for prey. I want, yeah, we may never know. And you know, like I said, I've said several times, Charlie, it's the why that I want to understand. I want to try to understand the most. Something that I'll never forget, and we all will never forget, is 9/11. Um, Heather and I were on the phone that day. My best friend that I was telling y'all about, that my goddaughter used to have to call the operator and tell him her mommy wouldn't wake up. We were on the phone that day and talking about stupid, silly shit we had done at the bar when we were drunk and stuff. And then, we're just having this casual laughing conversation. And then she says, "Oh my God, Amy, we're being attacked." And I'm like, "Huh?" And she said, "We're being attacked." And I'm like, "Who's being attacked?" And she said, "We're being attacked. Turn it on CNN." And I'm like, I couldn't our country being under attack was the last thing on my mind that I could have ever expected. And I caught myself one year on the anniversary of 9/11. I wanted to try and come to some kind of understanding of why someone hates me and hates you all so much, who don't even know us, but they hate us for our religious beliefs, and they don't know who all has what religious beliefs. Here in America, we have but we have, the fact of the matter is our whatever religious beliefs we have, they are not the same as what their religious beliefs are. Hey, Southern Granny Wolf, how are ya? And I wanted to try and understand what would make someone hate me and my fellow Americans so bad that they felt that we had to die, that they had to take our lives away from us over our religious views. We don't go over there and try to take their lives for whatever their religious views are. So, and I just wanted to try and understand it. And so I went to looking into stuff and things in the Quran and the Muslim beliefs and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, it's different from what our Bible says here in America, but they still have those same core beliefs that we have here as Christians. We have, the Ten Commandments. They had they had the same thing in the Quran. Basically, they had the Ten Commandments, but what it amounts to is that these people take this stuff too far out into foul ball field, and they spin their own narrative and they spin their own personal beliefs or whatever into these core beliefs, and that's how they become what do you call it? They what's the word I'm thinking of, y'all? They become oh, okay. Well, thank you so much, Southern Grammy. they take it to the extremist. They take it to the extreme, and but I wanted to understand why, um, you know, these people, hated us so bad for what our beliefs are, and that they felt that they had to commit these terrorist attacks, and never going to fully understand any of it, but I at least wanted to try, and if we all tried, yeah, they think we get rewarded in heaven for taking, yeah, they're going to get what, 25 wives or something like that when they get to heaven. Yeah, crazy, nutty stuff. um just like Chad Daybell, he's nothing but a false prophet, another Jim Jones. And he took the Mormon faith and just took it to the extreme, is what he did. Do I believe that his idea of zombies and my idea of zombies are two different things? Do I believe we have living zombies on this earth? Yes, I do. They're all over on Benny Key's channel. Um, yeah. You lived an hour away. Oh my gosh. See, that is a trauma that I couldn't imagine having witnessed that. But you better believe I would have reacted the same way that I've reacted in these other situations. I would have began just rendering aid to whoever I saw. Same with the boss. I watched a thing on the Boston bombing a couple weeks ago. I was watching a documentary about the Boston bombing and all those people laying on the sidewalk and stuff. And yeah, I probably would have, just reacted as I have, in my own personal experiences. But yeah, and what those poor people on them airplanes must have been going through, and that's horrible to think about. Totally horrible to think about. I couldn't imagine having had to have witnessed that or been in it, you know, people jumping out windows, and it's horribly, horribly sad. But I do, I think if we ever want to achieve peace on this earth, which I think we are past the point of no return, but I'm still going to do my part as far as trying to promote peace and understanding and living together and whatnot. Um, if more people tried to understand each other a little more, then maybe we could get to a better place. But I honestly think we're way past the point of no return. So I'm just waiting for the man upstairs to send his son back home and say, "Come on, y'all, let's go." Because I'm tired of witnessing all this horrific horrible shit. I've seen enough in 52 years than I want to ever see. Music, music, music. Yep, definitely. I'm an Aries, and um, Aries, we cannot survive without music. And that's why, I mean, if you if you could see my playlist, you would think this girl don't know what in the hell she likes. She don't know if she likes gangster rap or hippie music or rock and roll or country or uh what. Because I mean, I have such a diverse uh music you know liking that it and it's just whatever mood I wake up in as to what playlist gets turned on that day. I might be listening to 70s music today, and tomorrow be listening to gangster rap, and the next day be listening to 80s rock and roll, and the next day be listening to death metal. You know, me too. I mean, I wish I could sing opera. I wish I could get my voice that high, but yeah, but to listen to oh God, no, that pierces my ears. Oh, you're starting to get into rap and country, or rap country, like what's his name? Our friend. We're the same, Amy. Oh, my granddaughter and I, we fuss because she listens to the new age rap like Cardi B and all that. If there's one woman I can't I can't stand, it's Cardi B. I didn't like it when it was coming out of Little Kim's mouth in the night up church. Yeah, I didn't like it when it was coming out of Little Kim's mouth in the 90s, and I don't like it coming out of Cardi B's mouth either. I don't want to hear about her nasty ass snatch. But yeah, I'm just like, my aunt. I'm like, least you could do is listen to the good stuff. I mean, Tupac, Biggie, Easy E, NWA, Coolio, Too Short. No, she wants to listen to Cardi B and whoever, and that other old gal. What's her name? Megan Thee Stallion. Ugh, it's just depraving, totally depraving. I didn't like it when it come out of little Kim's mouth, and I don't like it out of their mouth either. And I don't think my granddaughter should be listening to it, but me trying to tell my daughter what to do is, I mean, I get more out of talking to the door than I do out of telling her what to do. So, well, y'all, it is getting late. It's almost 11 o'clock, and gosh, I've been on here almost 3 hours. I guess this is probably the longest live I've ever done, but I, just had a lot to say. Struggle Jennings, actually Waylon Jennings' grandson. Oh, okay. I love me some Waylon Jennings. See, I grew up on country. Candy, the woman that helped raise me, helped my mama raise me, her and her husband, Sonny. Candy always had the radio on in the house, and she was always playing country music. So, I grew up on Waylon Jennings and Conway Twitty and Loretta Lynn and Patsy Cline and Tammy Wynette and George Jones and um, Eddie Rabbit and Smokey Robinson, all those just legendary. Tanya Tucker and my dad used to hang out with Glenn Campbell's brother. It's Glenn Campbell. He's from Arkansas. Glenn Campbell or John Denver? No, it's Glenn Campbell. Glenn Campbell's brother. He's from Delight, Arkansas. And my dad knew his brother real well. And Charlie Rich. Charlie Rich's mama was in the nursing home that was down the street from my house. I love Charlie Rich. We'll never see music that good anymore from those days. Behind closed doors, kiss an angel good morning, and love her like the devil when you get back home. Exactly. Alice Cooper was good friends with. Oh, really? I love Alice Cooper. I saw him in concert with Kiss and Motley Crue. Was it Kiss and Motley Crue, I think? Yeah. Yeah, that was when I went to San Antonio. He was with Kiss and Motley Crue in 2012. He's the original shock rock guy. I tell you who else is a big fan of Alice Cooper that you would never expect, and that's Paris Jackson. Paris Jackson, Michael Jackson's daughter. I think that child is so beautiful. Yeah, she's a big Alice Cooper fan. But anyway, I have really enjoyed all of y'all coming in the chat tonight, and all of you new people that have came into the channel and new subscribers. I've enjoyed all y'all coming in tonight and chit-chatting with you all and just having a good reasonable talk, and we can all disagree on some things, but or have differences of opinions, but at the end of the day, we're all after the same thing, and that is justice. We want justice for these victims. We want justice for these Idaho 4. We want justice for Monkey Vaughn. We want justice for Summer Wells. We want justice for Quentin Simon and Cupcake McKinney and just all of these people, we want justice for. So it's I really enjoy being able to chat with people and even if we do have some differences of opinions, we can still talk like decent, normal human beings to each other and be kind to one another. It's not that hard. We just got to come to understand each other and have more compassion for each other and stuff. So, but everyone have a wonderful night, and you all know my motto here at the Ruby Pearl Glamper True Crime Podcast, and that is to be the change that you wish to see in this world. As Michael Jackson said, it starts with the man in the mirror. Peace out, everyone. Good night.
Hey, y'all. This is LMA from from the Ruby Pearl Glamour True Crime Podcast. If you love all things true crime, then please hit the subscribe button down below and don't forget to hit that notification bell. And please give us a thumbs up because you're all invited back next week to this locality to have a heaping helping of our hospitality. True crime, that is. Set a spell. Take your shoes off. Y'all come back now. You hear?